Ladies and gentlemen, we have breaking news here in Bachelor Nation. Hello, everybody. Dave Neal, stand-up comedian and host of Bachelor Nation News. Looks like Kaitlyn and Tayshia have removed co-host from the bio of their Instagram. We're going to jump right into this story. You might say, Dave, this is such a quick story. It might as well be the shortest video you ever make. 12 minutes later, here we are. In this story, we're going to talk about Tayshia removing her Instagram bio, what this means, Jesse with his announcement that he's going to be hosting The Bachelorette, and how much Chris Harrison made. And also, now hold on a second, folks, Kaitlyn Bristowe, so a good audience member, thank you so much, sent this to me this morning. Kaitlyn Bristowe mentioned how little they were getting paid. She didn't say the exact number, but it's fascinating. Isn't it International Women's Month or whatever? And here we are. They screwed the pooch, if you will. So we'll get into it. Follow me on Instagram at DNeals. Hey, no one's more of a feminist than I am. Ladies, you want me to help negotiate your contracts over there? We'll come in big. So they say, so someone says, who cares? I don't know. Whoever's watching this, I'm asking the same thing. Who cares about this? I don't know, but here we are. So Tayshia has distanced herself, so much so that she went to London for a little bit. She was like, I've got to cross the big pond. She went to London, distanced herself, and she's doing well. But by all means, she was commodified on the show, because that's what they do as the lead of the show. When she replaced Claire as the lead, she's kind of got that Rodney Dangerfield, I get no respect here. Let me tell you, I got no respect. That she was there on a whim to replace Claire when Claire ran off with Dale's toes, and then all of a sudden her season ends, and then when her relationship with Clacky went away, they commodified that while she was host. They had her, they wheeled her out there. She cried. She walked off camera. Rodney's like, what the hell just happened? And I'm like, I don't know. And then on the finale, she had been exposed to COVID, which I was the first one to go, you live in New York City. Everybody's exposed to COVID. You didn't test positive, and yet you're not. And then a day later, she's flying out west anyway. None of it added up. None of it. People go, Dave, why are you so obsessed with Tayshia? Well, we love Tayshia. She's one of the biggest stars of one of the biggest reality shows in our great nation over here. Of course, we love Tayshia. But we don't love when people are getting screwed. And the show has told us time and again, it's going to protect their own interest. It's going to kick the can down the road. That's why Chris Harrison, with help of power attorney Brian Friedman, decided to negotiate a settlement around $8 to $10 million, because he knew that they were just going to kick the can down the road and not announce a new host. So he was like, I need to get my money before they realize how easy my job is. And then Jesse Palmer's like, it is pretty easy. He found that out the easy way. Jesse Palmer's in like an igloo in Iceland watching Sports Center. Every once in a while they got to like wheel him outside to deal with a, sort of sad Clayton. But other than that, pretty easy job, right? So here's Tayshia's bio, the standard God, Psalms 46, which, I don't know if that's one of my favorite verses, but I don't want to share it with you guys. So she's, MIA here. And then here's what Kaitlyn had to say. Now stick around for the very end. I'm going to share with you guys some other thoughts. A message that Jason Tartick deleted. We have the screen grab of that, so stick around for the end, because he's obviously going to bat for his lady, Kaitlyn. But Kaitlyn and Tayshia were in the same position here. Everyone's like, who's going to be the next Bachelorette host, Kaitlyn, or is it going to be Tayshia? And Jesse Palmer's like, well, what if I just do it? So let's listen to what Kaitlyn has to say. You can hear the bitterness here. And look, Kaitlyn and Tayshia are millionaires. They're making plenty of money. If you add on the extra 20 grand they may have gotten from PPP loans, they're basically just swimming in wealth while late-stage capitalism destroys the rest of the country. But that's what you do. You make love in a yurt, and then you build enough followers to have equity to make a podcast. That's the world we live in. Either way, it's more of a respect thing. It's like they're going to be fine. They're already probably top 1% of 1% within Bachelor Nation as far as like fame goes. If you were on the show 7 years ago, like you don't get much out of it. But like the show was hot now. They were the faces of the show. They've made some money. But how much? Let's hear what Kaitlyn has to say.
This is what happens. Gosh, and I think that's why it was so cool to have myself and Tayshia there for Bachelorettes, because I feel like we really were able to mentor like these women and not just be a host role. We were really able to help in these situations, which I think the lead clearly needs.
You don't think Jesse Palmer mentored Clayton to have sex with 3 different women? Yeah, Jesse Palmer is like, bro, go do it. You can apologize. Better to ask for forgiveness than permission, whatever.
Well, I mean, you could argue that Jesse was supposed to be that, but I do think that Jesse took on a traditional host role, not a mentor role.
Yes.
And you guys even had that label of mentor or guide.
So it's kind of like when, like with parents, it's like, are you supposed to be a parent or a friend? And I'm always like, can't you be a little bit of both? Can't Jesse be a mentor but also be the host? Can't Kaitlyn be the host but also the mentor?
And I think we should
That's
mention
because they didn't want to pay us. That's because they didn't want to pay us for a host role.
Whoa!
Did they do-
Okay, whoa. Let's just listen to that one more time. Kaitlyn says that's because they didn't want to pay us for the host role. So Kaitlyn is essentially saying they made us mentors because Daddy didn't want to open his wallet and pay us the rate that they're paying Chris Harrison and others.
Confusing thing to watch without getting angry.
Well, I think that's why Clayton was so upset last week at the backlash. He was like, I was dating as the Bachelor.
I just rewound way too far here. Sorry about that. Boy, I got to fire my producers.
Him and he's
a great job in host role. I do think that last night he was like, dude, I don't know what the to tell you.
Yeah, I agree. I think, first of all, Jesse is Canadian and I love him. And he's literally one of the nicest people.
You guys are going to kill me. You guys are going to kill me here. It's a Friday. We're not all perfect at our jobs. Just let me get back to where I was. Jeez, hold on, folks. Here it is.
Just be a host role. We were really able to help in these situations, which I think the lead clearly needs.
Well, I mean, you could argue that Jesse was supposed to be that, but I do think that Jesse took on a traditional host role, not a mentor role.
Yes.
And you guys even had that label of mentor or guide. And I think we should
That's
mention
because they didn't want to pay us. That's because they didn't want to pay us for a host role.
But did they do that with Michelle's season? Did they pay you host role?
No.
Oh, I thought you guys got a change title the second season.
No, we were still special guests in the credits.
Oh, didn't say host. Oh,
No.
Goodness. Okay.
I know.
Well, I have to say that I think that Chris Harrison was very missed last night, especially.
Yeah, I agree.
Love Jesse. He's great. He's so nice and so fun to talk to. And I think he's done a great job in host role. I do think that last night he was like, dude, I don't know what the to tell you.
Yeah.
Look, you can enjoy Chris Harrison, but I wouldn't say he was missed. I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think?
I agree. I think, first of all, Jesse is Canadian and I love him. And he's literally one of the nicest people
Seriously,
I've ever met. I love him.
every time he's on here,
So
it's
great.
just so fun. I smile the entire time we're talking.
Yeah, he's so great. It's just Chris Harrison was able to navigate any situation with advice and
I love how they go. God bless them. They go, Chris Harrison was able to navigate every situation. What about the situation he didn't navigate? They got him fired. What about that?
and I don't even know. I just think it Jesse was more
Can we get a GoFundMe for Kaitlyn to get better Wi-Fi?
almost like at
I've literally watched better transmitted videos from the war zone in Ukraine than whatever this Skype conversation is. It's just cutting in and out.
how insane it was.
Yeah. Yeah. He's like, hey, I'm a viewer along for this crazy ride of yours. I cannot tell you what to do because you're too far in, dude. Okay.
All right, so that's where they're at. So clearly Kaitlyn felt like they weren't paid enough because they were named guests, not hosts. Now, we understand for Katie Thurston's season, they came in last minute. Katie Thurston tweeted days before her season was supposed to start saying, I don't think Chris Harrison should be the host, while Chris Harrison was just on a break. We're on a break! Pivot! So he had to pivot to the golf course because now he's on a long break called early retirement. Or whatever else he's working on. Lauren Zima, whoever else. Does Chris Harrison bump Harrison's? How does that work? Or does he, anyway, I digress. The point is that, I can see why they were brought in as guest hosts to start, but by Michelle Young's season, they were brought in as mentors to start, but they have, and I'd love to know what Bachelor Data has for the stats. I'd love to know the average screen time of Chris Harrison versus Jesse Palmer versus Kaitlyn and Tayshia, because Kaitlyn and Tayshia did a really good job. I would argue I thought Kaitlyn was more valuable with the one-on-one conversations. When it came to leaning up against the door with Katie Thurston and having that moment to like drag Katie out when Katie didn't want to be a part of the show anymore, that was Kaitlyn Bristowe. When it was long walks on the beach, it was Kaitlyn Bristowe. Again, people, why do you hate Tayshia so much? I don't hate Tayshia no more. I love Tayshia. I just think Kaitlyn Bristowe adds. She's like she's the BFF of all. I think she can relate to anybody. I think she's super personable and all that jazz. So Kaitlyn said this after as to why Jesse Palmer was back. She says, "We never really thought that would be our position, in that they would stick around. I mean, we never really thought we'd still be here for a second season hosting. I think it's cool to have a male that's been in the position help mentor the lead and say, I've been here, I've done this, and I'm here to help you. So it made sense for me that they got a past Bachelor and also someone that has been in a hosting role before. Not only has he been in a hosting role, he's got a decorated resume of hosting. Not just sports, but also that baking show. I mean, the guy is a professional. Okay, whenever like Nick Viall said were they just going to hire some football analyst? It was so flippant because no, Jesse Palmer's highly qualified for this job. Not to say that they shouldn't have taken care of Kaitlyn and Tayshia. Is Jesse Palmer getting paid more than Kaitlyn and Tayshia without knowing any of it? I have to say probably double, triple, quadruple. If you think this is like some wage gap, he's blowing them out of the water here. And again, we don't know this. I'm sure the contracts are airtight, but I will get into how much Chris Harrison was making. All right, so this is just an article. I'm actually going to skip over this. How Kaitlyn essentially received a lot of flack for asking Tayshia about her breakup during what I believe to be the Men Tell All, is that what it was, for Michelle Young season. How do we even remember any of this, right? And I don't have notes. This is just sadly stuck in my brain. I can't remember, that I need to go to the store and buy milk because I'm stuck with Tayshia knowledge. I don't need the Tayshia knowledge. Anyway, so people were mad at Kaitlyn for bringing that up, but it's like Kaitlyn brought it up because Tayshia wanted it addressed. They literally broke up like the day before it was filmed, and Tayshia walked off. And what I think is that Tayshia realized with her agents and managers, that's like, the show's going to commodify you. They're going to use you for like, you're still a part. You can't be a host when you're still a part of the drama. And that's what I think Tayshia realizes why she needed to step away. That as long as she's connected to the show, she's not going to move forward. So I've got every video under the sun. Tayshia officially out of Bachelor podcast. Tayshia deletes travel story. Spite cheating. That's actually one of my first ones. Look, that's Bookshelf Dave. Bookshelf Dave that was one of my first big videos to pop off when Tayshia's ex, Josh, before The Bachelor, says he cheated on her out of spite, and it was on the Reality Steve podcast. That was a fascinating conversation. But we have Bachelor star Tayshia, no longer affiliated with Bachelor podcast. So one thing after another, Tayshia distancing herself, and this is the final nail in the coffin that she's no longer co-host. Stylecaster, which probably is one of the most reputable of smut rags here, says, how much was Chris Harrison paid to host? In 2011, well, first of all, he said he was never even auditioned. They kind of just hired him, which is fine. The show wasn't big when they made it. He did have a good hosting experience. He was making $60,000 per episode in 2011. Celebrity Net Worth reported that he was making $8 million a year, which comes out to about $200,000 per episode, which I disagree with those numbers because $8 million a year covers Bachelor, Bachelor in Paradise, Bachelorette. So that's really more like 30 episodes, $8 million a year, whatever. It's a lot of money. My guess with Tayshia, and I've said this on my Patreon, which I'm recording right now. If you want the behind the scenes content, go to patreon.com/Dave Neal. My guess is that Kaitlyn and Tayshia were paid $1,500 an episode. That's my guess. Kaitlyn and Tayshia, if anyone wants to DM me and let me know if I'm close, I'm guessing $1,500 per episode, as opposed to and again, I don't think Jesse Palmer is going to be making what Chris Harrison was making. And also, I don't think new hires, Kaitlyn and Tayshia, should be making what Chris Harrison was making in his 20th year on the show. Okay? So I'm not saying they should have been making what a 20th year host makes, but they should have been making more than whatever a guest was making, because I'm sure a guest barely pays. So it was announced a couple days ago after the final rose that was it even an after the final rose? Because technically, Clayton gave his final rose at the end of the show, so there really was no after the final rose. Doesn't matter. Jesse Palmer replaces Tayshia and Kaitlyn as hosts. Bachelor Nation's host situation has been in flux since Chris Harrison's departure. Jesse Palmer confirms he'll be hosting The Bachelorette. Couple thoughts on what you guys think. Kaitlyn and Jason being thirsty again. So Jason posted this, 2 bachelorettes, who knows better? Kaitlyn for host. And then Jason posted just saying, and then he posted this and deleted it. I'm sure Kaitlyn was like, dude, don't do that. Don't get involved in this business. Whatever happens, happens. Of course, they're very busy wedding planning and doing their own thing, so I'm sure they're perfectly fine. But some of the comments will say some said, I did love the dynamic Tayshia and Kaitlyn brought to the show, but Jesse added a lot of structure and seriousness to the show that was definitely missing. I think overall he's a better choice as permanent host. I think having 2 bachelorettes will give a similar fun sisterhood type vibe that Tayshia and Kaitlyn had, so it's like we'll get the best of both worlds. I agree with that. I agree with the fact that the thing I'm going to love the most about having Rachel there with Gabby, we'll see how it goes. Rachel and Gabby will be able to play off of each other the way that Kaitlyn and Tayshia did. I'm so much more looking forward to the limo entrances now, or exits, depending on how you look at it, because I think that's going to give us them. I can't wait till like some stud walks up and then Gabby and Rachel like look at each other and high five and like, yeah, they do. I play this in the background. We have a whole thing. Reality Steve posted earlier today that they are going to be releasing very shortly the the potential cast members for the Bachelorette season, which begins filming this weekend. And I want to give a shout out to Vanny. Vanny just joined the Patreon, so thank you so much, Vanny, and all the other members. I think we're at like 214 right now. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate all of you. As I've told you this, Tayshia, oh my gosh, my fiance Tasha and I, whoo boy, sweating. My fiance, whoo. We got to get a spritz there. Ooh, boy, hot day here. My fiance Tasha and I have decided we're going to live stream our wedding for the Patreon members when we get married. We're still working on the dates. It's a pandemic, folks. If anyone has any recommendations in Cancun, let me know. Or Dominican. Hey, if you can get me a venue, let me know. Jeez, it is not easy out here when you don't have Neal Lane backing you and the whole Bachelor crew. Anyway, folks, that's going to be it for me. More content coming your way. Again, patreon.com/Dave Neal if you want bonus membership-only content. And also, I just released a TikTok. You can go check it out at DNeals on TikTok. That's right. I'm 36 going on 12. I'll talk to you guys in a little bit. Bye now.